fuck it, eh. Kill my enemy, dribble a beat, fuck it, eh, fuck it, eh. Then celestial, I shit up a machine. Suck up a day, bitches in repeat.
I'm here with the winningest coach in boxing. He's the trainer, coach of Shakur Stevenson and young prospect is Quinn Moses. How are you doing today, Mr. Moses?
Okay, how about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm gonna start out with asking some questions about your coaching journey. What first inspired you to be a boxing coach?
Well, I was sitting down playing tops one day, and a couple of guys bought some boxing gloves out, put them on me and my nephew, and we started boxing, and it was fun.
Okay. What were your biggest influences early in your career?
Well, one of my biggest influence was my fourth and fifth grade teacher, seventh grade teacher as well, and my eighth grade gym teacher. He inspired me the most when he brought in some pictures of him and Floyd Patterson and Bob Foster boxing, pictures with Muhammad Ali and whatnot. I think that's what inspired me the most.
Okay. What separates a good coach from a great coach?
Well, let me say first, man, I think all coaches are good coaches and great coaches. I think the big difference is that some are more effective than others. So I want to give a commitment to every coach that's out there coaching because they make the difference in the fight.
Okay. How important is mental toughness compared to physical conditioning?
Well, mental toughness is very important because when it comes to mental toughness, you know, a lot of times, no matter what you do, you may get hurt in the ring, and having a mentality to overcome being hurt inside the ring displays a great deal of mental toughness.
Okay. What mindset do you try to build in your fighters from day one?
But let them know that they was born to win, born to be successful. You know what I mean? I'll tell all of them about a story about a group of kids came over here on a slave ship, on a ship one day, and the little kids had to be men at an early age and do exactly what the grown-ups did. So they were doing it then. So they just as much men there as a man then as they are now. So giving them that mentality that they were born to be successful, and it helps a lot.
And how do you help fighters handle pressure, fear, self-doubt before a big fight?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you know, pressure, you know, is something that's always gonna. They always say pressure make diamonds, but pressure is something that's gonna be always there. But the only pressure that a fighter should have to worry about is the pressure that he's on inside the ring. The mental pressure should be handled inside the training camp, you know, from all the sparring sessions, you know, all the workouts where the confidence is really built, you know, from his performance inside the gym. So now, if he's prepared adequately to perform inside the gym, he should perform inside the ring and have no pressure on him at all.
Okay. What does a typical training week look like for a fighter that has came to the point where he has to be serious? What type of training weekly is he getting?
A professional trainer, you know, for performance, sustainability, you know, punch output, you know, defense and everything. All those are real important. You know, I think defense is really paramount, you know, when it comes to being inside the ring. And when you put all those intangibles together, I think you have a fighter that has a real chance to be successful.
Okay. What fundamentals do beginners usually underestimate?
Most of them, and you really see a lot of the professionals underestimate it. They don't realize that the hand is quicker than the eye. You know what I mean? A lot of them think that hand speed and hand speed and foot speed, head speed, should I say, and foot speed can counteract hand speed, but it can't. It's not meant to be. Let me see somebody go catch a fly with their head.
Right.
And catch it with their hand. Okay.
How do you? this question. What's one mistake young fighters make early in their careers?
I think the biggest mistake that they make is sometime and most of the time thinking that they're prepared for the next level too soon, whichever level it may be, you know. I think, you know, preparation and having success and climbing the levels in boxing comes through performance. So, you know, as the performance go, don't overestimate your performance in terms of you wasn't successful at this level. Don't think you're going to be successful at the next level. Tune your stuff up at this here level and then climb to that next level.
Okay. What goes into building a fight strategy?
Well, the one thing is, you know, you want to see your fighter's strength. You know what I'm saying? Your opponent's strength, should I say. And you want to try to neutralize those strengths. Now, what you want to do is take advantage of your strengths. Okay, what can you do to neutralize his strengths? The next thing is, you know, you want to look at his inadequacies, the things that, the deficiencies that we see, the things that he doesn't do well in the ring, and a mistake, you know, as far as hand situation, body situation, where he's at when he finishes and before he starts. So when you look at a lot of those aspects, you have to see a lot of tendencies that the fighter really has. And you know, if you prepare for those tendencies, you should be able to prepare a good strategy for the opponent.
Okay. Do you make adjustments when a fight is happening and it doesn't seem to go the way you may have thought it was going to go?
Oh yes, particularly that Peter fight. You know, yeah, you know, Shakur, you know, that fight he done a lot of things that people wanted to see him do. He done them well, but the adjustment was when Shakur started doing the things that he does, using that ring, walking him around and whatnot. You think he was more proficient at what he does, even though, like I say, he was proficient, you know, standing in the pocket, you know, doing what he does, catching, locking them up and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, when he started doing it his natural, like walking around, doing it off his feints and whatnot, and running in little numbers on him, that adjustment helped a lot during that fight, yeah.
Okay. What qualities do you look for in a young athlete with real potential?
Well, you know, when you ask a lot of the young fighters what do it take to be a real successful athlete, you'll hear a lot of them say dedication, determination, hard work, you know, what's you know, things of that nature, you know, which, you know, everybody does and knows it. But I think the one intangible that a fighter has to have, and any athlete that want to make himself and become an elite athlete, you have to have that desire inside him, that shit that's burning inside him, man, that not be denied, man, at any cost and every cost, man, doing what it takes to win at all costs. So when you have a line and you see that the athlete have that desire to overcome every hurdle, run up every hill, you know, go down, do everything that it takes, you know. I think those guys that never quit, you know, it's in them, day in and day in, like, you know, sound like I'm talking about Shakur, but I am, you know. When you see those things in an athlete, you know, and wanting to believe in himself, and you see his skill growing, you see his intelligence growing, and all that thing, I think those are the things that you have to really feed fuel to. And go ahead and keep pushing an athlete to his desire and to his will, because at some point the athlete starts to dream and he starts to think about what he wants to be, and you can't never let him forget that.
Okay. I think this question is very important, especially for a lot of kids that's coming out in the city. How do you teach discipline to fighters who come from tough backgrounds?
Well, you know, I have a saying, you know, usually if you want to be successful and you want to have a circle around you to help elevate you. Now, if you're not around the people that's going to help you elevate yourself to the point you want to be or get to, then you in a box, okay? You're not going to go anywhere. So you have to surround yourself around good people, you know, especially people with good hearts. You see, if people generally have good hearts, they have good minds. So, you know, you put yourself in that nature of thinking what's right, you know, over what's wrong, and separating yourself from those people that's in the box and getting the people that's in the circle that particularly that you know have the experience to enhance your career and help you get to the way where you want to go. I think the more you surround, the more they surround those type of people, and people are like them that have that same desire for success. I think it creates a good environment for them to pull them up out of everything else.
Okay. What do you think the hardest lesson is that boxing teaches?
Well, you hear some crazy lessons, man, and I think it's more with the tutorial, you know, the way you were taught, because you hear some people say, man, you got to get beat up to learn in boxing. You got to get in and get your ass beat. I tell anybody, whatever coach tell them that, run away from that coach, okay? Because that's not the way it is. So the lesson in boxing people have to learn is that they have a body and they are a human being. You know what I mean? And the body is not adequate for punishment. You know, to be hit in certain areas, to be hit hard. For example, you see a lot of people take the medicine ball, guy lay on the ground up against the wall and hit him, bang, boom, 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 boom. I think like if that should really work, why not taking that medicine ball and hitting them in the face with it? Bow, bow, bow. Well, he really gonna get to them. So the one thing I think the hardest lesson for them to really learn is that they're not supposed to take punishment, okay? Because if you take too much punishment, it puts you in the NFL. And I ain't talking about I'm talking boxing, not for long. And I think that's the biggest, you know, hardest thing for them to learn, that, you know, you don't have to and don't supposed to take all those punches. And, you know, the mistakes that a lot of them make in terms of that shit they call answering the telephone and all that shit, and wiping the mustache and all that shit. It's really a lot of the shit that get boxers hurt. So, you know, when they find out the real things to do inside the ring, I think it's the best chance that they have. When I was talking about the tutorial, where they're taught, and you know, to having a good, strong foundation that you can fall back on when you do get in trouble inside that ring. That foundation, to have a quality foundation, can really sustain you inside there.
Okay, a couple of more questions. How do you define success outside of wins and belts?
Well, success, the biggest quality of success, generally and more overall, is the success that you have within your community, you know what I mean? And you find out that people that are successful have a tendency to have a successful way of life, you know, where a lot of people around them become successful. You know, you gotta be gracious, you gotta be merciful, you gotta be out here and acknowledge and be part of the community. And you see, that's the real success, you know. It's not boxing success, it's what we call life success. So how successful you are in your community and how successful you are with the people around you really dedicates and dictate the success of an athlete outside of the ring.
Could you have imagined that your grandson, Shakur Stevenson, would be as successful as he is today?
Well, you know, my hope was, you know, of course, because it's the reason we're doing it, you know. It's not like, you know, it's something that, you know, he never dreamed about. See, I tell him today, you know, not too recently, that I told him that my dream was his dream for him. I dreamt the same thing, but I would never tell him, I dream about you doing this, I dream about, you gotta have this dream for yourself. So I think that helped a great deal with it, you know. Letting him know that he's establishing and dreaming his dream. Well, he established and accomplished his dream and accomplished my dream as well.
All right, one last question. What piece of advice do you think every boxer should live by?
hit and don't get hit.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moses, for that interview. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.